blockhead. Blockhead!
This movie was ahead of its time and pierces through the soul. Released over 50 years ago, on December 4th, 1969, A Boy Named Charlie Brown is the first theatrical film starring the Peanuts characters. Charlie Brown can't seem to do anything right. That's just the bottom line. The kids know it, he knows it, and yet he keeps trying. The opening scene really illustrates this extremely well. We see him making a kite, trying to fly it and ruining it instantly. But he immediately tries again. Kite flying? A disaster.
Anybody who can fly this kite is a genius.
Can't kick a football, can't manage a baseball game, and his team won't even stop teasing him about it. He embodies all cycles of life and relationships in such a small, animated frame. He is seen as a walking, breathing failure, and constantly told as much.
Was that moral? How about the Children's Crusade? Was that moral?
This scene is a perfect example of what I call the relentless reality of Charlie Brown.
You're kidding. With a head like Charlie Brown's, you'll need a bed sheet. I'm dying, and all I hear are insults.
Insults are all he hears, painful to watch at times. Not just what people call him, but what he calls himself.
You know why that little red-haired girl never notices me? Because I'm nothing. When she looks over here, there's nothing to see. How can she see someone who's nothing?
You're depressed, aren't you?
Lucy's role as Charlie Brown's psychiatrist is a cruel irony. When she says,
Charlie Brown, it's true. I recognize your frailties, your weaknesses. You need me to point out your faults, Charlie Brown. It's for your own good. Besides, I can do it for you better than anyone else.
She embodies his deepest insecurities and self-doubt. Her harsh criticism, masked as help, is a projection of the unhealed pain that pushes us to speak horribly about ourselves. Lucy resurrects his demons, tearing down his self-worth with precision. Her words echo the worst parts of our inner dialogue, reminding us of our failures and fears. This scene highlights an essential truth. Some people delight in pointing out our flaws, not to help us grow, but to drag us down.
Now, on to your physical faults. These slides will show your tendency toward fatness. Look at that stomach. Even your nose is fat. And your legs. Why?
As the philosopher Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This reminds us that we have the power to choose our response to negativity and not let toxic people define our self-worth. What the heck, Lucy? All this buildup establishes the status quo that Charlie Brown is a failure. Let's talk about the spelling bee in this class. Everyone believes he is a complete failure, but he enters anyway. Go, Charlie Brown. He buckles down and actually wins. Now, enter all the fake friends. Lift on your shoulder type friends that throw you off a mountain soon after when their expectations aren't met. Now, suddenly, everybody loves him. They all want to be near him. But then he finds out this is only the beginning. 3 different times from 3 different people he hears,
Why, you blockhead? This is just the beginning. Of course, Charlie Brown. This is only the beginning. Sure, Charlie Brown. This is only the beginning.
The scene where Charlie Brown visits Linus and confides in him about his constant failures is particularly great. Linus offers encouragement, but Charlie Brown deflects it because the failure is just so consistent. They start a game of tic-tac-toe, and you can see the hope in Charlie Brown's eyes that he has a chance to win. It's really crushing when Linus beats him effortlessly. As Friedrich Nietzsche said, hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. This reminds us that while hope can drive us forward, it can also deepen our despair when consistently unmet, highlighting the fine balance between resilience and the crushing weight of continuous disappointment. Charlie Brown's world isn't just challenging because of his own insecurities. It's also filled with cruelty from those around him, including the other kids and even adults. Despite the kids mostly having the same head size and shape, they still find reasons to make fun of him. They mock his every attempt to succeed, from his efforts in baseball to his struggles in school. One striking example of this is during Halloween. While other kids receive candy, Charlie Brown gets rocks from the adults. This isn't just about bad luck, it symbolizes a deeper societal issue. Adults who should be nurturing instead project their unresolved pain and disappointments onto Charlie Brown. This act of giving him rocks can be seen as a form of projection, a psychological defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own unacceptable feelings to someone else. In this case, the adults project their rocks or burdens onto Charlie Brown, who becomes a scapegoat for their unresolved issues. As Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The adults in Charlie Brown's life haven't dealt with their own inner pain, so they unknowingly pass it on to the most vulnerable around them. This underscores the importance of self-awareness and healing, showing how crucial it is to address our own rocks to avoid harming others. Charlie Brown could be anyone, anywhere, in any situation. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, you can relate to Charlie Brown. He's the everyman, but he's also deeply unique. We root for the underdog because it's like rooting for ourselves. As Aristotle said, man is by nature a social animal. Our shared experiences in sports, social events, and cheering others disquiet our self-limiting thoughts and bring us joy. Freud's theory of projection suggests that we see our own struggles in others, which is why Charlie Brown's perseverance resonates so deeply with us. As Charlie Brown packs up to go to New York, he's met with unexpected cheers from the kids. It's a rare moment of recognition, yet tinged with an unsettling weight, when he says,
This whole thing makes me feel like I'm being drafted.
It's more than just a quip. The kids shouting,
Return victorious, Charlie Brown, or don't come back at all!
echoes a grim reality of the times. In essence, win or come home in a body bag. As Linus speaks,
Think of it this way, Charlie Brown. You're going on a great adventure, and you'll be representing all us little kids. Our honor is riding on your shoulders.
you can feel the weight and pain those words carry. It's not just a school trip, it's a journey laden with expectations. What else are the writers trying to say? Lucy's line,
Not to mention my future economic security, Charlie Brown.
adds an even heavier burden. Imagine being in Charlie's shoes, feeling the pressure of representing not just himself but a generation. This takes me to the next part that is very difficult to talk about. I mean, war is not pretty. For all parties and witnesses to the pain, in 1969, America was deeply embroiled in the Vietnam War. Televised images showed the brutal realities of combat. Soldiers trudging through dense jungles, wounded comrades being airlifted from battlefields, and villages destroyed in the crossfire. The death toll was staggering. Over 58,000 U.S. soldiers lost their lives, and estimates suggest that between 1 and 3 million Vietnamese soldiers and civilians were killed. Each day in the U.S., families watched as names of the fallen scrolled across their TV screens, a grim reminder of the war's relentless toll. Imagine if you had to watch the news to find out if your loved one was dead or not, if your world was shattered at a moment's notice, or if you were a civilian in Vietnam that died while doing mundane things such as going to the market, and you were caught up in a brutal conflict. Bertrand Russell once said, "War does not determine who is right, only who is left." And Oliver Stone once said, "The first casualty of war is innocence." Political turmoil further exacerbated the national anxiety, with protests erupting across the country and civil rights movements challenging deeply entrenched systems. Charlie Brown's statement captures this collective anxiety. The pressure to succeed and the fear of failure were magnified in a society grappling with such profound loss and upheaval. I believe Charlie has died many times in his heart, He's an emotional zombie, resurrected to die again. His comparison of a spelling bee to the horrors of war underscores the immense pressure he feels. This guttural feeling of fear is felt by all of us at one point in our lives. This elevated feeling of fear is what drives us away or to certain things that destroy our inner peace and body. Some that experience this war would say this is an extremely unrealistic analysis of the circumstance when using metaphors to compare war to a children's spelling bee. And they would be 100% right, no doubt about it. These words highlight our fears. They make us all, in one way or another, feel small, little, even terrified. The horror just might come in different forms, shapes, and severity. It might come in the form of your family, your best friend that is a horrible human being, addiction, depression, your spouse, or the fear of truly understanding ourselves better and fearful of what we might discover, understand, and meet. Let's chat about the ending. It's really essential in explaining why it's so great. And we end up seeing Charlie Brown in the final round of the spelling bee. All the kids in the neighborhood are back home watching him on TV. It was like they were all there with him. They were him. They were on that stage, not next to Charlie Brown, but they were an extension of his being in that moment.
U-R-E, leisure.
The word is beagle?
Oh boy, that's an easy one. That's his dog. He'll get that one easy. Charlie Brown's at the threshold of...
Snoopy and Linus are in the audience, and Charlie Brown makes it to the final round. He gets the word beagle wrong. Remember that Snoopy is a beagle. It's astonishing how quickly the kids turn on him.
Ugh! Ugh! Ugh!
You can't make this stuff up. Charlie Brown hangs his head in silence, in defeat, even after everyone's gone.
Owning 10% of Charlie Brown is like owning 10% of nothing.
He, Linus, and Snoopy finally get up and decide to go home. They get on the same bus that brought them to the city, but when they get off, no one is there to greet them. The love he felt is gone, and he's back to square one.
I guess nobody realized that we were returning.
As Charlie Brown, Linus, and Snoopy stand by the bus in the dark, there's a somberness to their return. This scene reflects the quiet, almost subdued recognition that echoed the sentiments surrounding soldiers returning from the Vietnam War. Unlike the jubilant celebrations of World War I and World War II homecomings, Vietnam veterans often return to a nation conflicted and weary, without the parades and fanfare. The muted reception Charlie Brown receives mirrors the lack of acknowledgement and the complexities faced by returning soldiers. The war's unpopularity and the controversy surrounding it meant fewer cheers, more silence, and a nation grappling with its conscience. Imagine seeing what they saw and going through a war with so much misunderstanding and controversy. Charlie's quiet arrival home encapsulates the disillusionment and quiet resilience that many experienced, marking a poignant contrast to the expectations of heroism and victory. Sorry, I can't move on without diving deeper into this scene at the bus stop. The duffel bag at Charlie Brown's feet, so reminiscent of a soldier's gear, carries a weight far heavier than his belongings. It's the weight of expectations, much like those carried by soldiers shipped off to war. The sailor hat atop his head subtly but unmistakably nods to military service, further deepening the connection. This shot doesn't just show a boy heading to a spelling bee, it encapsulates the turmoil of an era where even a simple trip could become a powerful metaphor for the struggles of the time. Charlie's journey to New York, much like a soldier's deployment, carries the hopes, fears, and anxieties of a generation ensnared in conflict and uncertainty. And like many wars, young boys or children are sent off to distant places, guided into experiences that are unthinkable, until the unthinkable becomes their reality. It's a poignant reminder that every journey, big or small, can carry the emotional burden of an entire era. I mean, what a powerful scene. So Charlie curls up in his bed, missing school, just lying there in his dark room. It's like he's shut himself off from the world. And then, Being the good pal that Linus is, he swings by after the baseball game to check on Charlie. This is when things get real. Linus walks in, and what follows is, in my humble opinion, one of the best lines ever written in animation. It's such a raw, honest moment. Linus's words are like a balm, right?
Well, I can understand how you feel. You worked hard studying for the spelling bee, and I suppose you feel you let everyone down, and you made a fool out of yourself and everything.
He says with that calm, knowing voice. He's acknowledging Charlie Brown's effort, the hard work, the studying, and yeah, the sting of feeling like you've let everyone down. I mean, haven't we all been there, that gut-wrenching feeling of making a fool of yourself? But then, as Linus opens the door to leave, he drops this truth bomb.
But did you notice something, Charlie Brown? What's that? The world didn't come to an end.
And that's the kicker. The world didn't end. I love that part. It's like, despite everything, life just goes on. And so does Charlie Brown. He gets out of bed, puts on his iconic shirt, and steps outside. There's something healing in that, in just moving forward. He sees kids playing hopscotch, twirling jump ropes and marbles, all without noticing him. Life's rolling along, unbothered. Charlie wanders to the baseball field, sees the dandelions are gone from the mound, and there's Lucy with the football, as if to say, hey, life is still here, still waiting. It's such a simple, profound moment. No matter how big our failures feel, the world keeps turning and we keep going. And that's okay. Sometimes we need those moments to remind us that life, like hopscotch and marbles, just continues. Okay, so here's the thing. I love how this scene nails that feeling of life, not always giving us the happy ending we want. I mean, here's Charlie Brown creeping up behind trees, getting all hopeful and determined, and you just know he's thinking, maybe this time. But no, Lucy does what Lucy always does. Yanks that football away, and he goes flying. And honestly, I don't know what that means exactly, but it feels right, despite being so wrong for Charlie's existence. Like maybe it's his fate to never kick that football. It's frustrating, sure, but it's so real. Sometimes, no matter how much we hope or try, things just don't work out. Tragedy hits and there's no happily ever after. And then Lucy, standing there, smiling and saying,
Charlie. Welcome home, Charlie Brown.
It's like she never changes, you know? She's the constant reminder that some people are just difficult. There are good people in the world and there are bad people. And sometimes they're mixed up in our lives, pulling the football away when we least expect it. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's real, and that's why I love it. Life isn't always fair, and Charlie Brown embodies that in the most painfully honest way. If this narrative resonated with you, do support us. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Thank you for staying with us to the end. See you in the next video on Plaid Chronicles.